Hmm. Finally. Good morning and welcome to Between the Lines, brought to you live this Sunday, March 12th, or what is it, 15th now? Uh, 15th, live from our Body Armor Coca-Cola studios at USA Today's number one ranked sports bar in the nation, Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. We apologize for the late start this morning. We had some technical difficulties on our end. I am joined here today by my co-hosts Jake and Aiden. My name is Tristan, and we are here to give you an in-depth rundown on sports everywhere. But before we jump into the broad topic, there's a lot to discuss with Tampa Bay Rays in spring training right now.
I kind of want to give a little bit of a shout out first that, normally this show starts and it goes from 11 to 12, but today we will be running from a little bit of a late start at 11, and we will be going all the way until 1 p.m. today due to the missed coverage that we had last week with some freeze ups with the camera. So we will be going until 1 p.m. today.
Yeah, that is important to note. We did get cut off early about the 30-minute mark last week, but we plan to give you from 11 to 1 p.m. today instead of just 11 to 12, which is the typical, runtime of Between the Lines. But yeah, we have a new face in the studio, or not a new face, but a reoccurring face. Haven't been here in a couple weeks. Aiden, how are we doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. But yeah, like I was saying before, I just want to jump right into the general broad topic of Tampa Bay Rays baseball in spring training, maybe just spring training as a whole, because there's so much to dissect, so much to talk about. Today we have Shane McClanahan starting on the mound for the Rays. I know that's big news for Jake because
Very excited about that.
definitely one of the biggest Shane McClanahan fans I've ever met.
One of the.
I mean, I guess if you're the biggest, then
I think I would be the biggest Shane
I think you
McClanahan
just have to
fan.
declare if you're the biggest or not. Like the biggest Shane McClanahan fan in the world.
I mean, I guess. But starting off with some Tampa
I
Bay
don't think it's an I
Rays.
guess thing. I think it's like something you have to be
All right.
confident about if you are or not. Like
I said I am.
I don't know why you like stopped to
I
like
said I am.
specifically you are?
Yeah,
Okay. Then just say that.
I did.
You literally were not saying that. You hid from it for a second. You didn't you were like not confident about it. If you're gonna be someone's biggest fan, just be their biggest fan. Like don't be their biggest fan and not be their biggest fan. Like
We started late to do this.
I mean, yeah.
All right,
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
get
You're the one
into the.
refusing to talk about the race for training. I'm happy to jump right into it.
I am getting into the Body Armor Player of Spring Training, Body Armor MVP so far. My personal MVP for the Tampa Bay Rays Spring Training is actually Taylor Walls. Care to explain?
Yeah, care to expand on that at all?
All right, yeah. Taylor Walls right now in only 15 at bats. He's hitting 333 with a homer and a 945 OPS, and he's been seeing the ball really well. He's been putting up good at bats. He's been getting on base, and this, it is spring training, so take it with a grain of salt. But this looks like a different Taylor Walls, and does that mean that he's going to go into the season and, you know, hit 15 home runs and hit 230? No, he's probably still going to be that 200 hitter with 3, 4 home runs, but seeing him put up good at bats and seeing him get on base and kind of get into a little bit of a streak gives me at least a little bit of hope going into the season for him.
So you think he's going to be a success next season? Like you think he's finally getting hit
Well,
into
no,
his
I
groove?
just said that I think he's still going to hit 200 with 3 or 4 home runs, but I do think it at least unlocks a little bit of maybe he can get onto a streak and help this team win some games in the offensive aspect instead of just defense.
What about you, Aiden? Do you have any specific players that you've been looking at the spring training so far that have been impressing you at all?
Not really impressing me, but someone I kind of want to start seeing more from is Cedric Mullins. Cedric Mullins he had one good game against the Blue Jays, but I just want to see him have more success with us. We signed him obviously not to be a star player, but we know he has star upside, so that's one thing we really want to see out of him, and I want to see that too.
Definitely. Kind of like Jake said a second ago, you do have to take everything that you see in spring training with a grain of salt. Obviously, you're not getting best on best. But I mean, I don't know. There's still something to be said about a lot of the performances we've seen so far. I personally want to see a little bit more out of Chandler Simpson. He early in spring training, he got off to his kind of fast start, but he has been. I've seen him twice now, at least in the games that I've watched. Try to steal a base and then get caught, which is just not a good sign you want to see in someone's actual like sophomore year in the league, especially if what they're known for is their base ability and their speed. Um, So that was a little scary. But overall, I just want to see a little bit more out of Chandler Simpson. I am very high on him, and I think that he could be a great outfielder down the line for the Rays. Um, I don't know. What about you guys?
I definitely think that Chandler Simpson can put together some really nice seasons in the MLB. I think he has, a 2.5 WAR, ceiling ready for him. But I do think sending him down is definitely an option going into the season, though. I think uh, just looking at the way that he plays, I don't think he has a guaranteed spot to start on this outfield. And if he's not going to start, I'd almost rather send him down, let him work on some defense, let him work on taking some at bats. I know he's really good at getting on base, and that's not something that's been an issue even in the major leagues. I would like to see him, kind of progress on it more, and that's something that I think could, really benefit him.
Yeah, I did see too when we sent him down. Next time we brought him back up, his fielding did increase by quite a lot last time we
Yeah,
did
but
that.
it's still a little subpar, so I would like to see it improve, and maybe that's what he's been working on in the offseason. I know he's worked with Kevin Kiermaier, so hopefully that's, something that can at least bring him to an average fielder because I think we could see a really good season out of Chandler Simpson.
When it comes to like when we sent him back down last season, I think you even have to take that with a grain of salt because you have to think about when a player gets their first major league at bat, like their first real major league at bat with a team, and then like the difference in nerves that player has before and after they do that, and then being sent back down to the minors, how significant of a motivation increase that is for them. And so I feel like you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt, especially if it's their first, really it was his rookie year. So you know, a very young player there. I feel like you would expect to see an improvement of statistics from someone if you do bring them up and send them back down. I feel like we've seen that a lot. But yeah, I just am very high on Chandler Simpson. I think he is going to be great down the line, and I don't disagree with that. I think that he could benefit from some more time in Durham. And I mean, we've seen most guys have. So yeah, do we have any other key names we want to point out? Anyone we've been looking at during spring training? Maybe not even on the race, just MLB as a whole in general, or the World Baseball Classic, which we will get into very soon.
I think for the World Baseball Classic, I think Fernando Tatis has been great for the Venezuela team, and I think people are
Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic, and I feel like people are overseeing that just because how stacked that team is. Like Tatis, I'm pretty sure he has 2 homers, 7 RBIs. And I think when I saw last night, he was batting over 400, which is that's fantastic. Telling what teams they've played, obviously, I think they're a fantastic team playing USA tonight, but I really hope USA does come out with the win.
I think it'll be I don't want to say an easy win for Team USA, but I think this USA team realistically could win this game 8-0. And I don't think that's trying to go up and say that USA is a much better team. I think it's simply the fact that Paul Skeens is on the mound, and I think this Dominican Republic team really could get shut down. And with Luis Severino starting for the Team Dominican Republic, I think that the USA could get out to some very early runs and kind of put this game away earlier than it should be. Even though this could easily go both ways, but I think based on pitching matchups, the DR is at a significant disadvantage.
But then when you look at it too, USA just lost to Italy, and it looked like no one on that USA team really wanted to win that game. Like I saw Bobby Witt definitely. Bobby Witt was showing it.
I just don't like how the USA has been playing in general. If you go and just watch highlights, go watch the Dominican Republic, go watch the energy that they play with. We see Junior Caminero, he'll sprint around the first 2 bases and then he'll start taking his time, pumping up the crowd, pumping up his teammates, and then really getting into it, doing some celebrations. And then you watch Team USA and it looks like they're just kind of a bunch of, construction workers kind of just getting a task done.
If we're talking about negatives in the USA baseball area, I mean, DeRosa, God, he's looked rough. He sounded rough the last couple of weeks.
I mean, what are you doing not knowing whether your team is in an elimination game or not? Like that's you know what I mean? I know they
That's
still
crucial.
ended up making it, but how do you not know every scenario? You're gonna go out there and even with the roster, with the Team USA playing their backups, there's zero reason that team should ever lose to Italy.
Absolutely. I don't think it should have been anywhere near as close as it was. Like in a loss either. Like watching that game, it just didn't make sense. Like, I mean, okay, obviously
Even their
the
backups.
starting pitcher. I mean, you can't
Nolan
really
McLean. I mean,
Nolan McLean.
still,
You can't really do much about Nolan McLean, especially coming off of a game where we watched Paul Skeens pitch. But I honestly feel like I don't know.
But
It's
that
kind of
Team USA
mismanagement
team
mismanagement of the bullpen. Like,
against any single pitcher on that Team Italy, the Team USA should be able to put up 10 runs.
I think
There's no combination of pitchers that they shouldn't be able to get 10 runs up on.
I think McLean also didn't look bad. His breaking stuff didn't look bad. His stuff had changed. He just needs to know where to place the ball. Like if your breaking stuff has changed, you got to put it in the right spot. You can't like pretty sure slider right down the middle let up one of his home runs. That's just placement's really key in that, and that's what I think made him look as bad as he did.
I absolutely agree. But you can't have those downsides
Yeah.
in the World Baseball Classic. I mean, it's just a time when like Jake was saying. You kind of were both saying this. It means so much more to these guys that are from the DR, from Colombia, from Venezuela, from especially
Czech
Italy right
Republic.
now. Yeah, the Czech Republic. It means so much more for these guys because I mean, this is everything to them. They don't get to go out, this many times a year and play with their team on their chest and or play with their country on their chest and um represent everything that they come from and everything that they stand for and their families and their friends and people back home. And I mean it's huge for these guys. And whereas the USA, it's just everyone's worried about, well, am I going to be ready for the MLB regular season, right? Am I going to be injured? Am I going to be, on a pitch count? Am I
And we
going to
saw
be?
that firsthand with Tarek Skubal.
Yeah, no, we saw that with Tarek Skubal. Yeah, I feel like we're gonna start seeing it with Paul Skeens here in a little bit, but Paul Skeens is kind of a different beast because he just loves the USA so much and wants to play for the USA.
The
He's truly one of our most patriotic players, I feel like.
Yeah, the difference with Paul Skeens is they will be taking him off the roster after this game almost. I don't see a scenario where he doesn't get taken off because he is going to go and throw probably 80 pitches. As much as the Pirates are willing to let him throw, he's going to be throwing. So, I don't see him being on the roster for the championship series just because you can get different guys out there. But, I think Griffin Jacks, I think those are two guys that are really playing with pride due to the fact that they've gone to Army schools and this country really does, representing for them really does mean something to them, just as we see with the whole Dominican roster.
Obviously, as you pointed out last week, Paul Skeens went to Navy and then he ended up going to LSU, winning the national championship, getting drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates, where he's now one of the starting pitchers, one of the best pitchers in the MLB, if not the best pitcher in the MLB. Just absolute heat.
1A, 1B with Skubal.
Absolutely. I mean, they're both just so dominant right now. They're both when you want to define ace, like you just look at
Yeah.
those guys and they have everything and they come with their full package. Anytime that it's a bump day for either of them, that it's going to be swayed in their team's direction, just because they have so much control. Just genuine control, genuine. And when I say control, I don't even just mean over pitches themselves. I mean control of themselves as individuals. You'll find that both of the guys are. I mean, they're confident in their ability. They're proud to play for their teams, but they're not like some pitchers we've seen before that are flashy or show a lot of uniqueness or weird ability or weird whatever. They're literally just guys. They're just baseball guys. They're both elite pitchers, and that's what they do, and that's what they excel at, and they do it at a very high level.
Yeah, and I think one reason you can't say one is better than the other is because they're not the same pitcher. They both like excel in two very different pitches. Like Paul Skeens, obviously with his extremely fast fastball, and then you have Paul Skeens, obviously does throw a very fast fastball, but he's really known for that changeup. That's what every player says. They say his changeup is the hardest to hit in the game. And Paul Skeens, obviously, he's great placement with the fastball, and that's why I think you can't really say this one's better than the other because it's something that's uncomparable. They're two very different pitchers that are both dominating the league in very different ways.
I'll say this: if Tarek Skubal goes to the NL next year, I think we're gonna have some very very fun NL Cy Young races. And then in the AL, I think it gets significantly easier for a guy like Garrett Crochet to boost his stats up and maybe make a Hall of Fame case, just as the other two are.
I mean, if you just look at the product that Pittsburgh puts on the out on the field time and time again, what do we think as far as the future for Paul Skeens in Pittsburgh, the future for Paul Skeens as a whole? Eventually once Pittsburgh does crumble, because let's face it, Pittsburgh is one of the most shining examples of a team right now that uh, is uninspiring just because you can profit off of being a bad team. Am I wrong?
I want to say this. I want to give Pittsburgh credit. They're doing something the Rays. We've almost never seen the Rays do, other than the kind of that 2019 season with Charlie Morton. Is they went out, they realized that offense was a problem, and they actually made an attempt to solve it. Now, Do I agree? Do I think that this is the best decision for them? Absolutely not. I think they're just trying to win over Paul Skeens, and they're trying to tell him like, look, we'll go out there and we'll sign these guys. But how much is Ryan O'Hearn, Jake Mangum, Brandon Lau, and Marcelo Zuna really going to do for that offense? It's a good four group of guys. I think their offense could be average next year, but you're then doing that. You're then going to lose Brandon Lau and Marcelo Zuna going into the next offseason. Because I mean, let's face it, this Pittsburgh team isn't going to win a World Series. I could see them sneaking out 90 games at the very, very, very best if some crazy stuff happens. But this offense is going to go right back to the same spot next year unless they're willing to go out and do this every single year. But you know, maybe in addition, like Connor Griffin, who could break out, will replace this offense, and maybe these guys are going to have better seasons than they really should.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And actually, it kind of shocked some people them going out and getting Lau and Mangum in that three team with the Rays. And I mean, it kind of surprised me too. I have to say, not only because we lost B Lau and Jake Mangum, but it kind of surprised me as a move from the Pittsburgh Pirates because the Pittsburgh Pirates just seemed like. I don't know. They weren't that invested in winning. They weren't that invested in winning at all. Making a push, improving their quality of play. It seemed like they had found an ace in Paul Skeens and that they were on a sitting duck and that they wanted to protect, around what they had just to kind of, play the game and be a team and, not contend. But, yeah, I think that did kind of shock people when they went and got B. Lau and Jake Mangum. I do think that could turn things around for them a little bit, but I don't think it's enough to send them all the way at all. They don't have a roster that's, can compete with the Dodgers. They don't have a roster that can compete with other big teams. They just have a roster that can do the job, that can win at least 60, right? And I mean, on the other end of that, I mean, it almost kind of feels like what the Rays are going to be like this season.
Yeah, I feel like too. I really wanted them to see them upgrade that bullpen. Like that bullpen is still not where it needs to be. It's only consists of really Dennis Santana, and that's it. That's like they went straight for offense, and they did great. I think they're four great hitters in Mangum, Bilal, Marcelo Zuna and Ryan O'Hearn, but you really just avoided the fact that they just focused only on offense. I think there's so many holes in that team that they need to focus on more than just offense. But I know they did just want to win over Paul Skeens, but
I actually think that, I know you said they didn't invest in the bullpen. They did get Gregory Soto, who is you know, an average bullpen arm. He's not like an eighth inning guy. You don't want him pitching in the eighth inning, but they have a group of guys that I could see, going out there and providing yet again just an average bullpen. But this starting rotation is really where it gets impressive. They did lose Mike Burrows in the trade to acquire Brandon Lau, Jake Mangum, and Mason Montgomery, but they still have Paul Skeens, they still have Mitch Keller, they still have Bubba Chandler, they still have, I don't know how much you can
Carmen
say
Lunch.
still have, but they have Jose Yurtike. They have Jared Jones. I'm not sure when he's going to be back, but they have the starters to go out there and kind of put together some 2022, 2021 Rays seasons where they kind of just rely on pitching and you know some fluky power out of some guys. Brandon Lau, Marcelo Zuna, and Ryan O'Hearn, all kind of just power first guys. I don't think they have, Jake Mangum, I guess, but they don't really have a true contact hitter who, other than Jake Mangum, who can go out there and, really put together consistent at bats and put together consistency. It's kind of just like a streaky offense, kind of like this 2021 Rays team was.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you guys know how to pronounce his name much better than me. Jose Urquidy?
Yurtike.
Yurtike.
Yeah.
Okay. Pitching against the Rays today, spring training, obviously. Against Rays batters, 16 for 59, 14 strikeouts, and 1 home run given up. How do we feel about his performance? About what he can do against the Rays this evening, 1:05 p.m. And do we think he's going to make any waves in the MLB this season if he makes the final roster?
Well, I think he has a chance to be a factor, but him pitching today, the Rays put out like what we might see besides Junior Caminero as the week one line, like the day one lineup. I saw Yandy in there. I saw not Griffin Jacks, but
Aranda, Lux.
yeah,
There's a lot of guys that we will be seeing in the opening day lineup for the Rays. Obviously, Junior Caminero's playing tonight at 8 p.m. in, I believe, It is
Miami.
Houston. Is it Miami?
Miami.
Okay, yeah, playing in Miami tonight. Not too far of a drive. Maybe he can, participate in both. No, obviously not. But, you know, this is our Rays
That would
lineup.
be ideal for us.
I mean, no, it doesn't matter. We don't need spring training games. We're 7-13. The Pittsburgh Pirates are 15-6, which, I mean, it's spring training in however many days, 10 days when the opening season starts. We're not going to look a single thing from spring training. But, one thing that I am excited to see is how Jake Fraley fits into this lineup. I know he's a primarily righty killer, and it's something that this lineup to me has too many of. There's too many guys that are lefty hitters who kind of, only hit against righties. I'm very scared to see what we do against lefties, but then again, when you take a look at the best players we have on our roster, Yandy Diaz and Junior Caminero, they are both righties who could absolutely kill lefties. So maybe their choice was go out there and just pray you can find a bunch of guys who can hit against righties and let Junior Caminero and Yandy Diaz do the rest against lefties.
Absolutely. The starting lineup for today: Shane McClanahan pitching, obviously.
I would
Yandy.
like to say too that right after
No, go right ahead, Aiden.
right after Yandy Diaz, we have 5 straight lefty hitters. Like this lineup is just starting to fill with lefties, and I think we need a
And then it's
we-
one switch hitter and two more lefties.
yeah, and then right
With
after
Yandy
that,
Diaz
2 more.
starting.
So we have 1 righty, a switch hitter, and then 7 lefties on our lineup. I just think this is absolutely crazy.
What's going on in the background?
I don't think anyone else can see that. I think it's just you, but the light's kind of flickering on and off. We have some light
Is it the
difficulty.
top
studio.
light?
Yeah, it's the top light.
Oh, it
Don't
looked like
worry.
it was like straight by. It looked like somebody was shining a light through this back door right here.
Nope, no one's shining the light through the back door. You are.
I think. Well, I mean, might be paparazzi on me. Why are we
Okay,
silent?
Tristan, continue.
So the lineup for today: the Tampa Bay Rays, Yandy Diaz batting first, Gavin Lux batting second, Aranda batting third, Jake Fraley batting fourth, Cedric Mullins fifth, Chandler Simpson sixth, Taylor Walls, your spring training MVP, batting seventh, Hunter Fiducia, the catcher, batting eighth, Richie Palacios batting ninth, and
Hey, I'll say this.
that's all she wrote.
He might be my body armor MVP, but I'll tell you this: still send his ass to literally anywhere but the Tampa Bay Rays starting.
Shanghai Sharks, you are getting Taylor Walls very soon.
Hopefully, I mean, I still do not want. I'd rather rotate Ben Williamson and Richie Palacios at shortstop than have Taylor Walls start. I do want to send Carson Williams down as well.
You know, there's people that could be listening that are very big Taylor Walls fans at home. You don't have any problem offending those people?
No. That's it. No. Taylor Walls, yes, he plays exceptional defense. Just like any exceptional defender in the infield, he makes too many errors. He, gets to balls and he makes plays that almost nobody else will do. But I'd rather take I'm not sure how good Ben Williamson really can be, but I'll say this: he has way higher upside than Walls does. I think he could hit 260 with 10 home runs, which is 60 batting average points higher than Walls and 10 home runs more than Walls.
Hey, let them
Eight.
know how you really feel.
Thanks. Okay.
But it actually is a really good lineup today. I am excited to see all these guys hit. Obviously, like you said, Junior Caminero, 8 p.m. tonight. But yeah, this is really our first real glimpse into Rays baseball in 2026, and I'm not too I'm not too scared. I'm not super optimistic. I'm not super pessimistic, but I'm not really that scared. So I mean, there have been a couple seasons in the last few seasons where we've had guys that I was confident in, and I was still pretty scared.
I will say this. Going into last season, I was much more confident than I am now just because it's been 2 years now of the Rays really not putting together good baseball seasons. But I have seen a lot of talk, and, honestly, I could very well see the Rays going back to the Rays way. And when you take a look at this rotation, they have a bunch of guys that are just really going to go out there and just put together solid seasons. I think when you take a look outside of that top 2 with Shane McClanahan, who knows what he's going to do? Who knows how much he's going to pitch? Who knows what his season's going to look like? It's been 3 years, but Drew Rasmussen obviously is I think he's about as close to a true ace as you can get. And then Nick Martinez, Steven Matz, Ian Seymour, Yoendrys Gomez, who's put together some good games in the WBC for, I believe, Team Venezuela. And then also Ryan Pepio. I think there's a lot of guys in this rotation that are just going to go out there and they're just going to put together a really, really solid season, throw a lot of innings. And I think that's back to the Rays way. I think if they can score 3-4 runs a game, they're their team ERA will be lower than the amount of runs that they score a game, which will put them into the playoffs. And, hopefully from there you can just get on a hot streak and really make it.
But I feel like if you really want to see a kickstart to the Rays season, this would be the one game to watch. This is where you're seeing most of our most likely day one starters go out there and play ball.
And you know what Junior Caminero looks like because he's been absolutely
He's
dominating
been
for
tearing,
Team Dominican
tearing up the
Republic.
World Baseball Classic, which is World Baseball Classic. That's the best players in the world. The best players in the world playing the best players in the world. Obviously, not all of them. Some they're in the MLB. Obviously, their teams won't want them to play. Like I know Francisco Lindor won't play. Jesus Luzardo for Venezuela hasn't been playing, but
Yeah. Man, it's sad what went on with Puerto Rico, to be honest. I think this tournament shakes out very differently if Team Puerto Rico has their guys. I believe Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, even a few others that couldn't play due to insurance reasons. And I, s- you know, going into insurance reasons, Mike Trout, I would have loved to see him, but you know, kind of going back into that Rays, the Rays talk. This bullpen is something that I am extremely excited about going into the season. I believe Edwin Uceta is questionable to be ready for opening day. They're targeting an early April return, and even without Edwin Uceta, this bullpen looks phenomenal. I think Brian Baker is a true stud. I think he's a real setup man. He's a real seventh, eighth inning guy. Griffin Jacks is a true closer. He got unlucky with the Rays last year. Look out for a big season from Griffin Jacks. Garrett Clevinger, also a dominant lefty. If we can hold on to him for the whole season and not ship him off, phenomenal. And then, Edwin Uceta, who in the second half last year was just as good as he was the year before. And Edwin Uceta is another true eighth inning guy. So I think they have four true eighth inning guys, and whoever you want to throw at closer, they're going to be good.
But also, when I want to say too, that was one of my I'm kind of disappointed about players for the spring training so far. I understand it's spring training, but Brian Baker, like the past two starts, he's let up a run in both of them. I think not starts, sorry, but both two times he's gotten in, he's let up a run and he's been getting hit up. I think it's obviously just spring training, so you can't take that's what's gonna happen. But I really think he needs to step it. I'm hoping and sure he will step it up when it comes to the regular season.
Yeah, and this bullpen, obviously you've got those top four guys who are true studs. You've then got Manuel Rodriguez, who will not be ready for opening day, but he's been posting videos on Instagram and he's been looking like he's making some seriously quick progress. I think we could be seeing him by the All-Star break, and getting him, would mean shipping off another relief pitcher just because there would be too much talent. But looking into some, lower depth guys, I think if we can get Kevin Kelly back onto that rookie season trajectory, that's a guy that could make a very, very big impact and be a setup guy.
Yeah, but
Hunter Biggie has been phenomenal in the little bit that he's played. He's obviously gone through some injuries. I would like to see him put up the full season. You
but
know,
hearing you say Taylor Walls is what you wanted for your body armor player, like body armor spring training player for the Tampa Bay Rays, I think it's Ben Williamson. Like the past five
his defense has
games,
been bad to me. I haven't
yeah,
liked it so far.
I understand he's got the bad defense, but hitting wise, I heard you say earlier you will give up the exceptional fielding for Taylor Walls to get the good hitting, and I think Ben Williamson.
Well,
You know,
Ben Williamson's still a good defender. Just this spring training, he has not. He's made too many errors. I think he might be in his head a little bit too much about fighting for this roster spot, but I think he's a guy that shouldn't have to worry.
yeah,
I
but
think
when you look at it, March 6th, 2 for 3. 6 days ago, was 2 for 4, 4 RBIs and a homer. Go to the next game, which was 3 days ago, where he started 2 for 3, 3 RBIs and a homer. And then not yesterday, but 2 days ago, 1 for 2. That's solid. And then another game, 1 for 2, and he scored twice. I think he's been a factor. He's been the center of the scoring, like for our past 5 games. Past 5 games he's been that center of scoring.
I don't hate it. You are listening to the Between the Lines show, a production of the Tampa St. Pete Sports Connection, powered by Body Armor, Coca-Cola, and Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. Tristan, I've got a question for you. All right. Going into the race season, what are you more excited about, this rotation or the bullpen?
That's a fantastic question. I honestly, I'm I think I'm equally excited for both because
I think both have a lot of upside to be very, very good. And, I think it's just depending on which guy's names sound better to you. I think that's really all it is.
Truly, I completely agree. And part of the reason that I say that is because in this offseason, right? And I want to say, even going back to last season in Steinbrenner, it was kind of like a Frankenstein type of situation where nothing felt right. Where this roster had seen so many changes, right? We had brought up so many rookies, so many young guys were playing in so many important key roles. Junior Camanero's first breakout season, Chandler Simpson, Jake Mangum at the time. Even earlier in the season, Cameron Meisner. There were so many different pieces, and we didn't quite know what to expect going into the season. I think this season, even more than last season, is more kind of we don't know what to expect. We've had more changes than ever, more moves than ever. We have the least consistency we've ever had. No lows, no lows. We don't know. We just this entire Rays starting lineup as of opening day, not just at the Trop, April 6th, but opening day in general, is going to be original. It's going to be something we've never seen before, which obviously you can say that about every baseball team every season.
It's the new ownership. I believe it's the
Absolutely.
new ownership. They're setting a new precedent. They're really going to go out there and they're going to make Rays baseball feel like Rays baseball once again.
I completely agree, and I feel like it starts at the Trop. April 6th versus the Cubs. We will be there. We have our tickets
At 4:05.
at 4:05. I am so damn excited, guys. I really can't stress it enough. If you haven't gotten tickets yet, secure them now while you still can. Be there. It's going to be electric. It's going to be something you don't want to miss.
Prices are going up like crazy. No, they're
Yeah.
already at like 140 for
Get
140
them as
for-
soon as you can because we made the bad decision of waiting once they came out. They were about what $90-$95 when
Yeah.
they first came out. They're
Yeah.
all the way up to 130 now,
Yeah.
which is what we had to pay. And then, I think they're only going up from here.
I mean, yeah, just bite the bullet while you can now and do it. I think it's definitely worth it. I predict. Okay, what do you guys? This is kind of like a general prediction. This is like a Kalshi type of thing. This isn't like a.
Whoa, no shout out to them.
I can't. I'm not shouting anyone out, but I'm just saying this is kind of a broad prediction. This is something that you can't really put into like a standard betting app. How loud do we think it's going to be when first pitch happens for the Rays, obviously, because when you're the home team, defense first. And then how long do we think it's going to be before it gets quiet? Because at baseball games, there is a point in the first inning, obviously. I've been at Rays games where it never got loud at all. But I mean, I'm just saying this. I know it's going to be loud for the first inning back in the Trop in over a year since last game was 2024. It's 2026 now. How long do we think it's going to take before it quiets down? How many innings, or maybe even half an inning, whatever? How many?
106 decibels.
That's not answering.
Well, no, that was the first question. So that how loud, and then how long do we think it's going to stay? So 106 decibels. I mean, I can generalize. I know 101 is like when we're at Raymond James and we're trying to get the other team to jump off sides and everyone in the stadium screaming. That's about 101, 102.
And the reason I'm going higher than that, the max I've ever seen at Raymond James was about 101, 100. I think the reason that I'm going to go with higher is because it's indoors, and I think everybody in that stadium is going to be screaming, and I think the echo between the entire roof, I think that's gonna cause it to get a little higher.
Like the echo, kind of like between the lines of the roof.
Bad joke. Bad joke, bro.
That's on me.
Yeah, let's skip past that.
Okay. Well, so you think it's going to be about 100 and how? What was that number? So we can.
106.3.
106.3 decibels. You heard it here first. I think it's going to be. Give me 110 because, like you said, indoor roof.
Holy moly!
Indoor roof. I'm taking the over on your 106.4. Give me 110, and I think it gets loud in there because I think that Tampa shows up, and I also think that Cubs fans are really loud. I had to hold my tongue there for a second. Mike Rickard, I believe, is a Cubs fan. I do think he.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So if Mike is
So-
watching, Cubs fans are great people, but they're just.
No, so what were you gonna say about the Cubs though?
I
You kind of like stopped your sentence.
I just said that they're loud. That's all I was gonna say.
Okay.
Do you not believe me? I don't.
Well, actually, I was gonna say something, but then I kind of got into the same.
Go
thought.
ahead. Go ahead.
No,
say
I'll
what you were gonna
pass.
say.
No,
Let
I'll
them know how
pass.
you really feel, Jake.
No, I'll pass. I'll pass. I'll pass.
All right. Well, I think it's gonna be about 110, and I think it quiets down around
I don't think it's ever gonna quiet down.
Middle of the second inning, I think it quiets down a little bit.
I think it's not
I
gonna
think
get.
it's
It's
well,
not gonna stay at that peak range.
I was
but
gonna say the peak range. I think it quiets down from the peak range about the second, like halfway through the second inning.
yeah, I could agree with that. I think, I think once the game kind of gets underway and people, really start to sit down, I don't think it's going to be, the loudest game in Tropicana Field. I think when you take a look at that 2019, 2020, no, 2019 postseason against the, actually, I think I'm thinking of 2021. The 2021 postseason, I think that's the loudest. I wasn't there for it, but I think that's about the loudest I've ever seen the Tropicana Field. And I will say this, the loudest it's ever been has probably been either the 2008 game when Evan Longoria hit the walk-off home run against the Yankees to go to the postseason. And then I also think the Jordan Luplow grand slam is up there.
I think the loudest I've ever personally heard. I mean, a stadium in general. The loudest I've ever heard was I've told you guys about this all the time, and I never shut up about it. But the 2023 NFC South or the NFC playoffs against the Eagles at home, dude. I mean, I remember when David Moore caught the pass and then he juked the first defender out and broke for the end zone.
God, that Eagles secondary was so trash.
Yeah, but I think it got up to it had to have been at least 115 decibels. It was like everyone in the stadium, it was at least 70-30 Bucks fans. Everyone in the stadium was screaming.
Which is,
I mean, just at full volume.
Which is crazy too, because here in the Florida area, there's a lot more Eagles fans than you'd think. There's a
and
lot of
it's like Eagles, it's Yankees, it's all that like New York area because a lot of people move down here. Which I will say this: if you're from New York, no more moving down here. It's not allowed.
Yeah, no, if you're from New York, New Jersey, that general area, just stay where you are. Stay put. We don't want you here. We don't have any more room. We ran out.
Yeah, 100%. But going into, kind of that Bucks talk, are we gonna get into some Bucks talk here?
You know what? I think it's about time. Right now, it is roughly 11:50. I think it's about time that we get into a Body Armor Coca-Cola discussion, NFL talk, Bucks talk, free agency talk. There's so much to cover. We didn't really get to cover half of it last week. So we got stuff going back to last week. Obviously, when we recorded last week's episode, we were still under the impression that the Baltimore Ravens were acquiring Max Crosby in a trade, which proved to not happen because Max Crosby came to Baltimore, saw their doctors, and he did not pass the sports physical that
It's
they
bull.
provided him.
I think
It's a lot of bull. I mean,
I
the
think-
reason that we say it's a lot of bull because if you had your head in the sand, not been keeping up with NFL free agency news, the next day they turn around and they sign the number one pass rusher free agent Trey Hendrickson. Give him much less than they were gonna give Max Crosby. They had to.
Much less. It was only 10 million.
It was 10 million per year less, but they gave up in general a lot less than they
Yeah.
would have had to give up to trade for a player of Max Crosby's expertise. The only kind of trade-off, the only opportunity cost here with this the move for the Ravens is Trey Hendrickson is actually less healthy than Max Crosby. How do we feel about that?
I mean, to me, the Ravens GM after the trade got canceled and he signed Trey Hendrickson. He said the goal all along was to sign Trey Hendrickson and get Max Crosby. No, it wasn't. You were not going to put 70 mil at edge rusher with 50 mil at quarterback. No team does that.
Yeah, I think to notice too, that they knew he had the knee problem going into it. They knew they were trading for him to do that, but I think once they saw the market for Trey Hendrickson really drop down as low as it got, didn't get too low, but low enough that they could save money, get not much less talent at edge rusher. Obviously, Max Crosby is insane, and
both still
Both-
deal with an
yeah.
injury.
but I think once they saw the market go down, they knew they could still get an elite edge rusher. They could still keep their 2 first-round picks
For a
and get,
fraction of the
yeah,
cost.
for a lot. Saving 10 mil per year really does add up. But
And it's the draft picks. I think is the big thing. I think they looked at the draft picks and they were like, we could save $10 million a year, get a little bit worse of a player, and save 2 first-round picks, and then go out with that first-round pick. Who knows who they're going to draft? Maybe they go Kendrick Folk. Maybe they go corner. They go Delaney.
maybe they
you know?
also maybe there's a high chance they get rid of Mark Andrews and they go Kenyon Sadiq. That draft pick now that was previously owned by the Raiders because they traded, and then obviously the trade got canceled. I think that's right around in that range to what, because obviously people were saying last year what's going to happen with Mark Andrews. I still think there's a chance that they get rid of him. Obviously, still losing Isaiah Likely to the Giants, I still think there's a high chance they would draft a tight end there too.
A position that I think the Ravens really might go is like Mekhi Lemon. I think no matter who had that pick at 14, whether it was the Ravens or whether it was the Raiders, I think both of them could have went Mekhi Lemon. I think a receiver is a very, very, very strong possibility for either one of the. Obviously, it's now the Raiders pick. Who knows what they do with it now? But I think Mekhi Lemon is a guy that they really could draft.
Right now, for anyone who's watching, Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans who is not up to date on all of the NFL free or the not NFL, the Buccaneers specific free agent signings, here's a quick recap of everything you may have missed. The Buccaneers signed quarterback Jake Browning from the Cincinnati Bengals to off of a free agent contract, so he wasn't the Bengals quarterback. Running back Kenneth Gainwell signed a 2-year, $14 million contract. Ko Keefe signed with the Bucs. We don't know his terms yet. Cade Otton re-signed on a 3-year, $30 million contract with $20 million fully guaranteed. El Quadin Muhammad signed a 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. He played on the Detroit Lions last year. He had 11 sacks, although he didn't start a single game. You do like to see that a lot. Defensive lineman Ashawn Robinson signed a 1-year, $10 million fully guaranteed contract. He's going to be a nice accent to Vita Vea in the middle. In his interview, Jacob brought this up to me. I just watched the interview last night on stream. It was a beautiful interview from a guy that you want to see. He talked about being very physical. He talked about wanting to go out and just kill offensive linemen and get to the quarterback and stop plays. And obviously, when you watch his highlights, the biggest thing that I notice is his run stopping ability in the middle. I mean, he stuffs the run like crazy, which the Buccaneers could use that help on the back end without a doubt. They also signed linebacker Alex Anzalone to a 2-year, $17 million deal. He played in Detroit last year. Very, very, very good linebacker. There was a statistic I saw since 2021. He's the only linebacker in the NFL. I don't want to list this exact statistic and be wrong about it, but it was, I believe 130 solo tackles or so. I don't even remember what the
I knew
exact
I saw
statistic was.
it was sacks, tackles, and I think TFL.
Yeah, he led the NFL since 2021 in some very, very good statistics that you want to see. Obviously, he's aging, and that's just an uncurable disease for every single NFL player's age. But, I do like to see that they're trying to take some stab at, solidifying the linebacker room. Hopefully they go for something in the draft that complements that or the edge room or whatnot. And then the last big one is safety Miles Killebrew. He played in Pittsburgh last year with the special teams coordinator Danny Smith. He is mainly a special teams individual. He's a very, very good special teams player all around, very physical, just not quite the standard like nickel safety you would want to see on a defense maybe, but I do think if push came to shove, he could fill the role. I mean, we've had worse. So, how do we feel about those free agent signings? Which one of those free agent signings sticks out to you guys the most, and why?
Well, I want to say Kenneth Gainwell. I did not see us going out and signing Kenneth Gainwell, but I think he is, in my opinion, I think everyone's opinions change, but I think he's a better version of Rashad White.
I think I agree. When we first signed him, I said he was better than Rashad White in literally every
he
aspect.
does. Yeah, he's got a
Rashad White is now a Washington Commander with his former college quarterback Jaden Daniels,
for only $2 million per year,
which is crazy.
Yeah, but I think the signing of, I think him signing with Tampa Bay is actually great. I can't remember last time us signing a running back like that. Obviously, we had traded for. I'm pretty sure we traded for Leonard Fournette. We might have signed him though, but
I think we did sign him. Yeah,
sign him. Yeah, we signed him obviously from the Jags, but
then we drafted Rashad White after.
They drafted Rashad White after, and Rashad White slowly started to work into that role. And same thing happened to him, and he just didn't like it. I didn't like that out of Rashad White.
And I didn't like the attitude he went about it.
I think
the way that he handled the situation of kind of becoming a free agent was very immature by him.
Yeah, I think they don't. I think they don't understand that. He did the same thing to Leonard Fournette. They noticed he was better. Leonard Fournette was coming a free agent.
And he got
played
replaced.
better. He got replaced. That's what happens. And then now the same thing happens to him, and it's kind of hypocritical. He has the same attitude that Devin White had. Obviously, Devin White didn't do the same thing, but it's just starting to slander the team, act like it's the team's fault. It's players' fault. Everything's not your fault. You got to notice that you got outperformed. You're gonna get replaced.
I argue that Devin White handled it worse.
Obviously, yeah.
Rashad White was much more secluded
Rashad
about
White
it.
waited until the season was over at least.
Devin
That I could
White,
give him a little bit of respect
yeah,
on.
because Devin White just started. Pretty sure he just started arguing online with Chris Godwin, your own teammates. You guys are in the same team. You guys are fighting for the same thing. You guys both want to win. I think.
Well, I don't think that's what Devin White wanted towards the end of
Oh,
that
yeah,
contract. I think
yeah.
he just wanted money.
And I
Yeah.
think we can all agree that both of those individuals handled it better than Antonio Brown. No?
Yes, I think everyone who's ever played in the NFL has handled their stuff better than Antonio
Well,
Brown. But
well, let's not go with everybody. There's been some pretty crazy things that people have done.
I mean, as far as like ending of your
Leaving a
time with a
team,
team.
yes. Ending the time with the team, no. There's some crimes that have been committed by some NFL players that we
Yeah, I mean, like
we
if you're
won't
talking
even
about
go
Aaron
about.
Hernandez. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm saying it wasn't the absolute worst. I'd rather my player take his pads off and run off the field and quit than
Well, we don't have to go into details
yeah,
about what Aaron
then
Hernandez did.
then do some things to people that should not be done by anybody to anybody. But going back to Rashad White, I kind of want to say this. That whole cough just distracted me like crazy. I don't know why.
I can't even cough on the show anymore. I mean, what
He
are we
did a
doing?
full 180 just to cough, which is what he should do so that it's not in the mic. But that just distracted me. So Rashad White, though, I think him leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just made him leave we'll say 9-8 as of right now, Tampa Bay Buccaneer team to go to man, the Commanders are so hard to rank. If Jaden Daniels is healthy, I think right now they're 7-10. I think he left to be a 40% backfield owner with the Buccaneers to go to a 50% to split with Jerome Ford. I mean, seriously.
Listen, I know this is I know it's a little silly to propose hypotheticals because you could just sit there and propose hypotheticals all day, but in the
Servosia
hypothetical,
Dennis MVP.
all right, I was
Jeez.
not going that direction. In the hypothetical situation, right, that Dan Quinn and Todd Bowles switch places, what do you think the respective teams' records become then in that situation?
I think the Commanders become. I think the Commanders get one game worse, and I think the Buccaneers get 3 games better.
I agree with that.
I think the Buccaneers are a team that has their holes. Obviously linebacker right now, linebacker 2 is horrible. Edge rusher 2 is horrible. But I think if you take a look at the entire grand scheme of the rosters, the Buccaneers have a lot of great pieces. And I think with a head coach who can, game plan and scheme up, I think they really could, become a 12-win team.
one thing I do really like about the Commanders, though, is their young defensive back room. I think in Mikey Sainristil and Quan Martin, obviously Quan Martin didn't have the greatest year last year, but I think their young defensive back room is growing and it's very good. I just don't think Rashad White is gonna have as much of an effect. I think he's gonna do the exact same thing Austin Eckler was for them. Obviously, they're both very similar running backs. I think obviously Austin Eckler having a better prime, Rashad White being a little more consistent, but I don't think he's gonna do exactly what he's expecting to do for them. Obviously, for dirt cheap.
I definitely do want to say this. I almost think that Rashad White did take a little bit of a pay cut because I don't think he's significantly worse than Kenneth Gainwell. I think Kenneth Gainwell is a tier above him in terms of players. I think Kenneth Gainwell is the same style of player. He's, kind of this receiving back, pretty good blocker. You know, I'm going to say good runner. Rashad White
He's
is,
a great runner.
kind of below average to average, but
He's a very underrated receiver as well. Kenneth Gainwell.
phenomenal. I think he's maybe the best receiving back in the entire league. I think he led, the running backs with receptions with 73, I believe. But Kenneth Gainwell getting a 2-year, $14 million deal with $10 million guaranteed versus Rashad White getting a 1-year, $2 million deal with up to $4 million. I think he took a little bit of a pay cut. I'd assume that a team like, maybe the Browns don't need a running back. I don't know. Some team that's at the bottom of the barrel had to have
Browns-
offered him, 3 or 4 million.
The Browns definitely could use a receiving back though.
I don't know.
Quinshon Judkins is
I like
not a
Quinshon
receiving
Judkins
back.
and Dylan Sampson duo though.
I do like Dylan Sampson, and once he starts getting more play time, I think he'll be great.
I
'cause he
think
showed that at
they
the
should
start
just
of the
rely
year.
on those two to go in as a duo versus getting another guy in the mix. I think, but I mean, hey, for $2 million, that's
I think that's a
less than
good
we're
sign.
paying our running back 3.
Mm-hmm.
I think That Sean Tucker contract
Yeah.
surprised me a lot. I'm gonna say that paying a third string running back $3.5 million almost shows that Zach Robinson kind of has something in store to bring the three-headed committee really to life that Josh Grizzard couldn't do.
I absolutely agree. I'm very excited to see where the three-headed snake goes this year. I do think that Sean Tucker is really the short distance guy, and I think that they capitalize a lot on him, and I think they capitalize a lot on just Kenneth Gainwell and Bucky Irving kind of going back to back, accenting each other very well. And then I think they bring Sean Tucker in when both of those guys are, no pun intended, tuckered out, and they need some help on the back end.
And not only that, like on the goal line too, he's obviously we saw last year great goal line back. If you can mix the plays correctly, he's a very solid goal line back. Obviously not like I can't remember what game it was, but right on the goal line, we ran the same exact run play up the middle 3 times with Josh Grizzard. Obviously, which makes me happy that we got just a different thing in the offensive coordinator room. I think he picked it up. Not really, but it started shifting between defense and offense, but I think he's an outstanding goal line back.
Okay, I got a question for the both of you guys, just kind of directed towards general NFL free agency. All right. Are there any teams, as far as right now, that you've been, kind of keeping on your free agency radar as
Jets,
far as
Titans.
pickups, that are sleepers going into next year? You think that
Jets,
are
Titans.
kind of going to be in a much different spot than they were this year, and have made some interesting signings?
I
Are you
think
guys?
the Titans are definitely one of them. I think Wando Robinson is going to have over 100 catches next year.
I think Wandale Robinson might emerge into a true wide receiver one.
It's
As
just
a-
because I think everyone is doubting him just because of his size. He's obviously not a big wide receiver at all.
But he proved he can step into that wide receiver
Yeah.
one role with the Giants last year after Malik Neighbors went down.
But one like team that's obviously not sleeper, but I think they have a bunch of like sleeper picks in the draft is the Raiders. Not the draft, sorry, but the free agency. I think they had one of the best signings in Jalen Naylor. I think he's such an underrated wide receiver. He's been a wide receiver 3 on a different team, and he's still stepped up. I think he's going to be a dark horse for them.
I don't think it's a bad signing, but I think they gave him too much money. I think 3 years, I believe 35 mil is what they gave him.
Yeah, I see the little overpay, but I think he's going to be outstanding.
But I think if you're confident in him, would he be their wide receiver one as of right now?
Yes, I mean depending on what you do with Trey Tucker, but they don't no longer have Jacoby Myers as he went to
Yeah.
the Jaguars. So I think their wide receiver room kind of lacks, and I think
Just kind of reminds me of the
almost-
Packers.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. It almost reminds me of kind of the Packers, depending on what we'll see next year out of Jalen Naylor. But
But
I
I
think
will say-
Jalen Naylor could definitely step up and solidify him as the wide receiver one. I think it's just we won't know until we see it because
Yeah.
he's been the wide receiver 3 for the Vikings for a long time. Obviously, he was 4 at some points too when it was Adam Thielen, Jordan Addison, and Justin Jefferson. I think he's gonna step up, and I think he's gonna be even if he's not wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 behind Trey Tucker. I think he's gonna be a great signing for them.
I do
Definitely
think
good for Fernando Mendoza.
I do think that, when you take a look at the Raiders, they're in a better situation offensively than the Packers are. Obviously, the Packers have the much better quarterback. Who knows what likely Mendoza is going to do and step in, but I think they have the a bunch of just wide receiver twos, but when you look at that roster and you look at the other positions, running back, they have a guy who is and will be a true stud next year, especially getting Tyler Linderbaum to block for him. And you can only assume that they're going to go out and get more offensive linemen and free agency and the draft. And then you have Brock Bowers, who's a true stud at tight end. So they have true weapons that are at the elite level in their position. Not so much with Genti yet, but he could very well get there next year.
I gotta ask. I mean, Cam Ward, he looks like one of the most developed rookie quarterbacks that we've seen in a while. He's not the problem with Tennessee. I think that's the biggest thing that needs to be pointed out is he's absolutely not the issue with Tennessee. He was not the issue last year. They just signed Mitch Trubisky as the backup quarterback to Cam Ward. If you're the Tennessee Titans front office, do you not take another second to look at other quarterback free agent options to back up Cam Ward to kind of give him more veteran assistance? Because if you look at the Bears, for example, the Bears just signed Case Keenum. Obviously career backup, but he's been in a lot of different systems, a lot of different places. He knows different teams very well. I think he almost would have been a better signing to kind of give Cam Ward not only backup support, but veteran leadership, kind of veteran, like, hey, I'm here for you. I've been there before. Especially when you look at other guys who are in the free agent market as
Like
far as
Joe
quarterbacks.
Flacco is
Joe
exactly
Flacco,
what I
for
was
example.
thinking of. Joe Flacco's like he's been a starter. He's a Super Bowl winner. He's stepped up in positions obviously for the Browns and the Bengals where he's just performed great. I think he's an outstanding backup and he's a good veteran to coach your young quarterback. I think that would have been a much better signing.
Yeah, I could agree with that. But a guy that, it's kind of the complete opposite. But, for a team, well, actually, looking at the Titans situation, I don't think this would be the best choice. But for a team like the Bengals, I very much want to see Anthony Richardson go and be a backup somewhere where if a quarterback gets injured, he can go and step in and, get some play time. He's a guy that, a lot of people wouldn't say this, but I think he can still succeed in the NFL.
I could see him starting for a team. I honestly could. I
Yeah,
think
the
there's like
Jets.
the Cardinals, the Jets, they're still both in need of a quarterback.
And it's only going to take a late, sixth,
Yeah, it's gonna
fifth,
take a
sixth round
yes.
pick at the most. So I think there's no reason to not go out there and get a guy who, you can develop and hopefully make into your starter. At least he's got upside versus a guy like, you know,
Yeah, but he was
Josh Dobbs.
yeah, he was great in the in the NFL Combine, which really makes you wonder. Like, obviously, Sonny Styles proving he is an athletic freak. Obviously, Anthony Richardson did the same thing, making him what was he the fourth, third overall pick,
I believe he was the fifth.
the fifth. Well,
Top
obviously,
five pick.
top five pick just because of that, and like
Look at Sam
he was
Darnold.
all
Look at
right.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it takes time, but also I'm saying this too, just because
I made that,
for
by the way.
the NFL combine, I think you can't just throw out NFL combine. Like obviously Sonny Styles, they're saying he's going to be top 5 now. People see someone athletic and they instantly think that they're just going to be a future of the NFL, and that's just not how it goes all the time. It matters what they do in the pads, really. Like
Guys, I think we could pioneer this if we really work on it. I think we could pioneer like election tipping for NFL like draft. Like we could go and lobby for a player and like get their draft stock from like top 30 to like top 5 realistically. Like if we really tried hard enough. You know what
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah. If we paid for like some media,
Exactly. If we banded together, because like in today's day and age, like I feel like if players go from like even at the combine, players will go from top 3 rounds to top 10 picks if they run a 40-yard faster than like 4 seconds faster than
yeah,
anyone, or not 4 seconds,
like
4.4 seconds faster than
like
anyone thought. You
not
know,
even 0.04 seconds, people will freak out about. Like, say you run a 4.39 and someone runs a 4.43. Like,
the four
and if
three
you're
nine, just
watching
because
that,
it starts with a 3, people will freak out about it and
people
be
think
like,
that's crazy. It's like
yeah,
they're like you put them next to each other. If
it's
to
gonna
the
take
human
80
eye, you're
yards to
like,
really see. It's
yeah,
gonna take 100 yards
you watch it
at
from a
max speed to see who's really
it'll be
faster.
it'll be one blade of grass difference, and it makes them all the better. It makes no sense.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it,
why
it raises the draft stock by 15 picks if you're the 3-9, and it drops you
that's
by
why
by 25 if you run a 4.43.
yeah, that's why I'm saying too. Like, obviously with Sonny Styles jumping up so much, it's like obviously those athletic things matter, but like, how much is it really gonna matter when you get into the game? Like, obviously, like the jumping from him was insane with his like what was it, 45.5 inch or 43.5 inch
It was
vertical?
something like that. It was
It was
crazy.
crazy, but again, like obviously people were going crazy about Anthony Richardson's jumping. When has he used that? I haven't seen him do it in a game. He's just been
Like almost no position is ever going to use a jump other than maybe a running back
and
3
maybe
times a year on a hurdle.
Well, the thing is with
linebacker too
jumping
to
is
hurdle.
it's
Yeah,
kind of a representation of like your change of direction in a way, and also
That's
but there's
your
change of direction
mobility.
drills.
I
yeah.
know, but it's an indirect representation of your athletic ability, which is like the point that we're trying to make, which I agree with, is that it is it's overused. Like it's not that actually
Yeah.
important,
I
If
but
you want to
it
see
is athletic ability, like it's
if you
general
want to
athletic ability.
I think in my opinion if you want to see how fast the guy is in as an NFL team and you want to do a 40-yard dash, put the guy in pads
yeah, show
Yeah.
me in
because
gear.
that's what he's going to run in.
It's like
There's no reason linemen can be running 4.8s when when they have an extra 30 pounds on their back to the already 330, that probably brings them up to like a 5.1. You know what I
and
mean? So
I
these
think
guys who are running 4.21s, which I believe is the record,
it's
they're
just
realistically running 4.3s. And I know it's a different margin for everybody though, because Tez Johnson, he had a really slow 40-yard dash, which scared a lot of teams because if you're 150 pounds and you've got 30-pound pads on,
Tez Johnson and slow in the same sentence, man.
yeah, like you know what I mean. Guys run different in pads. You know, there's no, it's you can't just sit there and make a guy run without pads when he's playing in a game, which is what you're drafting him to do. He's gonna be in pads.
But I think the combine, what it really does find is it finds athletes. It doesn't. It's to
Yeah,
find out who is capable of being an athlete and not a football player. I think there's very little things in the combine that actually show that you're a good football player. Like there's obviously the throwing drills, the catching drills, the drills for all of them. And then I think the 3-cone drill, those all of those really show like how good of a player you are for football, but the ones that people really care about don't even show that you're a good football player. They show you're a good athlete. Like 40-yard dash, people rave over that. That just shows you're fast. It doesn't mean you're going to be fast with pads on. Doesn't show you're going to do the same in
and
the
it doesn't show
NFL.
you're gonna be fast with a football in your hand.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't show really anything. The jumping, obviously, it shows you're good at jumping, but what does that matter when you have all the pads on when you're in the game and it really comes down to it? It's like
And when you have
game
to make
time.
a split-second decision to actually
Yeah,
use the jump, as a linebacker or as
because
a safety.
plenty of people in their head they think like they run it over in practice, all this happens, but when you get in the game, it's like a tense up situation. It's like you get in there, you can make the jumping interception, but you like in fear of letting up big plays, they'll go for the passive option. They'll either just make a low tackle or like do anything. That's why I think the NFL Combine really isn't like as significant as people make it like seem because obviously we've seen a bunch of QB like a bunch of busts come out of there. Like you can't say it too soon yet for Anthony Richardson, but because he's had great games, but he's also had very horrible games. I think I have a screenshot on my phone of him starting a game like like was like 3 for 15. It's like that good NFL combine just gave you a quarterback that's throwing 3 for 15 and he only had 2 carries and he's in the combine, it like shows how athletic you are. And he's tapping his helmet saying he wants to come out of the game. It's like
Yeah,
it
in
obviously
my opinion, the player interviews are even more important than these combine decisions because people are, you know, when you look at the players, their attitude, this is something the Buccaneers go on so much, it's something that I truly believe in. Attitude is such a big thing. If your quarterback is going to sub out of a game mid-drive just because he doesn't feel like playing anymore because your team's losing, like, and you drafted that guy in the top 5, you look like an idiot.
like
You
just
just drafted a guy who doesn't want to play the sport that you're paying him, top 5 pick, $40 million over the next 4 years to do.
like could you imagine Baker doing that? Just middle of the game, he gets one of those great first down runs and he goes over to Todd Bowles. It's like I can't do this anymore. And Anthony Richardson wasn't even doing that. He was just in the middle of a normal drive and he's just like obviously, I mean the Colts had pretty long drives. They didn't even have long drives actually. They weren't even the greatest team at that point. And
It's
obviously
not like their defense was getting a lot
yeah,
of stops then.
yeah, their defense, it's like why are you tapping out? You practice all week for this, you get into the scenario, and now you're too tired.
Absolutely. I mean, you're a current football player. I'm a former football player. I mean, Jake, you've played multiple sports throughout your life. We've all played sports before. When is it all right on a field, on a court, to just say, I'm all right, take me out?
There has never been a point where I
There's
didn't want to play in a game.
there's only scenarios is significant injuries. And when I mean significant injuries, I mean you step like if it's like to your foot, you step on it, you can't walk. You play through injuries all the time. Players play through injuries. They play through being tired. That's why in football practices, that's all they practice is getting your stamina up, getting all this up, because they say it all the time. This matters when a game goes to overtime, game goes to the fourth quarter. This is where it matters. You got to put your front foot forward and put all effort into that because that's when it matters most is when you get into the fourth quarter and it's these close games. If someone goes to OT, you have to be ready. And then for him, it wasn't even that. I'm pretty sure it was the first quarter.
The
Uh,
difference, I mean, here's the thing with football. The difference between good teams and the difference between great teams is what you look like in the fourth quarter. The teams that are typically winning in the fourth quarter, they're not hunched over. Their hands are not on their hips. They're not red. Or maybe they're red, but they're not, gassed. They're not, you know, breathing as hard as they can. They're not hyperventilating. They're not. I mean, they look cool, calm, and collected. They look like they've been there before and that they're ready and that they're conditioned for the situation that they're in. And that's not only what separates a good team from a great team, it's what separates a good head coach from a great head coach.
Yeah.
A coach that will, and we talked about this. We've talked about this before with multiple shows about Todd Bowles and whatnot in this last season. Obviously, you have all the injuries. You can't force guys to practice through injuries, but the walkthrough to actual practice ratio kind of shows up on the field later in the season when guys like Zion McCollum are walking to tackles, walking to plays. When guys like, I mean, I hate to say it, but even Antoine Winfield Jr., when they're not committing to the plays in the
Winfield has
in the
been
fourth quarter.
extremely annoying to me.
But
Yeah.
the thing is, though, I hate to say, it, but you can't really blame that on the players. They don't.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Yeah.
you don't blame the players. I'm saying
Yeah,
it's what
'cause-
separates a good head coach from a great head coach is how you handle the adversity that you're given, how you push your players, how you motivate them to elevate themselves and be better. And I mean that shows up in the end of the season.
But
And at the end of the season last year, I hate to say, I mean, you watched the same football that I did. It showed up.
3rd and
It-
28.
It bit them in the ass, and it was too late to recoup and get back on the right track when Mike Evans was slamming his helmet into the wall, yelling 3rd and 28. That's when he had already decided, can't come back to this team next year. I just can't. And now he's with the San Francisco 49ers. That's a Todd Bowles effect. I hate to say it, but it happened because of Todd Bowles.
I think too to see that your average fan doesn't notice that. They'll watch the games. They won't really go back and look at stats fully. Your average fans don't see that. They see players slacking off getting to there. They don't look at practice and everything. So your average fans, which is probably 80% of your fans, just they're just assuming these players need to step it up, and it's bringing it down on the players. It's getting hate comments on the players, hate comments on all of this, and it really brings the morality of the players down too. And I think that's why people need to start saying this more, that it's not on the players, that it's on the coaching, and it needs to step up. You can't blame the players for all of that.
Yeah, I think, kind of going into the players, I think there are some players that definitely deserve blame. If you're constantly seeing a guy, you can tell that that's the zone that he's playing or at least supposed to be playing, and then he's going to go and just give up this, you know, 30-yard play. And yes, I'm talking directly about Servosia Dennis. He constantly would miss his zone. That's a time where you can blame the players instead of the head coach, but there's a lot of times where
You could tell also it's very few times that that's happening because the Bucks weren't really fully, not all the time. They weren't arguing with each other, being like, "Hey, man, you have to step it up." It's all of them are not well conditioned enough, so they're all making
Yeah.
these bad plays. It's not. Obviously, it'll show in one person in one play a lot, but that's just not what it is.
I mean,
It's under condition. It's a good team that's being under conditioned by a bad head coach.
and there's so many things that contribute to this, like as a whole. And we talk so much about like the Todd Bowles, the locker room aspect, the Jason Light, the locker room aspect, how much they care about having guys in the locker room that are positive influences on other people, veterans that are positive influences on other people. I feel like with this season, it really started when they signed Hassan Reddick. I feel like that was them stooping them kind of down to a level that they hadn't been before. Them saying, all right, we'll take a chance on a guy that we know might not be in the best headspace right now, a guy that might not be in the most locked in, committed portion of his life, kind of aging out of his position, the prime kind of age in his position. He's always been a little undersized. He's always been a little kind of just like, I don't know, not the biggest like haymaker. But we'll take a shot on him. We'll see what we can do with him. We will see if we can make him work. And by week 5, him looking like he did, or I mean, with the his injuries, by week I don't know 7, them still continuing to keep Hassan Reddick in and play him throughout the games and like continue to take that shot on him because all the thing is, is everyone familiar with sunk cost? Like, do we know what
Mhm.
that is? It's because they had already invested time and money into him. They were like, no, well, we can't get rid of him now. we-
I did say this during the season. Anthony Nelson should have been playing over him.
Anthony Nelson is a much better player than Hassan Reddick. Did we not see the Spencer Rattler play? Like, did we not see him leap into air, catch a ball that was thrown well over his head in midair and return it for a pick 6? I mean, that's an outside linebacker, borderline defensive edge that was doing that in like what, week 2? Like, we should have been starting. I would say the Buccaneers should have been starting Anthony Nelson over Hassan Reddick since weeks like 4 to 6. that should have been the change that they made. Hassan Reddick should have been a reserve player, and I
And let
think that would have.
Hassan Reddick go out there
I
and
feel
try
like
to.
part of the reason that he didn't do that is because it would have caused turmoil in the locker room that would have been more of a headache for them overall than if they had just not signed Hassan Reddick at all. And that was the biggest, I don't know, defeating season limiter for them as a whole, just because. I mean, they weren't going to recover from that. We all saw it. They weren't recovering from that, and they didn't do anything to recover from that. They didn't do anything before the trade deadline to recover from that. They didn't do anything on the roster to recover from that. I think it's just because they were scared of rupturing something in the locker room that was already, I mean, on kind of teetering on its edge of are we still, I mean, a team? Like, are we still effective at working together? And I think that's one of the biggest things that they had to address in this offseason. And I think Hassan Reddick getting us far away from the locker room, I mean, was the first big move that they could have made.
I
That was
do
good.
want to say too, being a person, being a clientele that has to sign those big players, it's being an entrepreneur. And one being an entrepreneur,
It is a
you
business.
have to know that you're going to fail. It's 100% certain that you are going to fail. You're not gonna sign every player, have them be great. You're not gonna draft every player and they're gonna be great. You're gonna have times where it fails, and you can't just be like, "Dang it, I have to give up on that. I have to cut my losses and then just sell away the rest of the season." You have to build off of that. Be like, dang, this sucks, but now this player's available, I can go get him, or this player's gonna be available, I can get him, or oh, this kid's looked great in practice. Let's
If
try
there
him out.
if there was a GM out there that had a 100% success rate, the NFL would be so insanely boring to watch. No, there would be no return rate because the one team would win the Super Bowl every single year, and there would be no competitive aspect, and there would be one GM that just is better than everyone else. But that's not the case.
Yeah, even the great ones like Andy Reid, he drafted Clyde Edwards.
Dog.
He drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's
Yeah.
been on four different teams now. It's like not everyone's gonna. You're not gonna hit every pick. There's gonna be busts, and you're gonna have to accept that.
Well, Andy Reid's the head coach, but the GM
Yeah,
of
that's
the
sure.
the Kansas City Chiefs, yeah, I forget who it is off the top of my head, but
I do want to say this, with Hassan Reddick, let him go out there and fight for his job. I think if he was going out there and he was trying to prove himself to even just get playing time, because he would realize that would mean he wouldn't even get a job next year, I think we at least would have saw
so you
some
think it
life
would have
out
been
of
like
him.
you think it would have been like the Jamel Dean effect?
Not necessarily. I don't think he would have been good, but I think if you flip Anthony Nelson and Hassan Reddick as a starter, I think Hassan Reddick at least goes out there and puts in effort. Whether that translates on the field or not, who knows? But I think at least we would have saw him trying, which
Yeah.
is the bare minimum if you're going to play. If you were going to do anything, you have to at least try.
What I wanted to say too is you can't just baby him into like if he has a bad game, they're like, oh, it's okay. You go out there and get him next time. You got to let him know sometimes. After 4 weeks, he's playing terrible. Be like, hey, your job is in jeopardy. There's a chance you're not starting if you don't go out there and perform. So if you're not performing this game, or at least show signs of trying to perform, you're gonna get benched, and that's just how it works.
It seems like, I mean, and obviously this is more common for special teams, but it seems like they only did that with special teams. They would only bring in a guy to challenge Jake
Hmm.
Camarda. They would only bring in a guy to challenge was it Jack Browning at the time.
Yeah, Jack Brown.
Yeah, Jack Browning at the time,
God,
which now
dude.
we have quarterback Jake Browning as the QB2 on the depth chart. But kind of some weird stuff going on there. Maybe they're related. I don't know. Probably not.
Hopefully not.
Jack
Hopefully
Browning
not.
is now the
Hopefully not.
punter for the Orlando Storm. NFL team.
We got a competitor on our hands. No, but God, it seems like they only would do that with special teams players. It seems like
Yeah,
they would
it's
only
like
bring in guys to combat Jake Camarda, combat Jack Browning, combat long snapper
Evan Deckers,
Evan Deckers, but not Evan Deckers. Zach. Oh my gosh,
Zach Triner.
Zach Triner. Wow, holy cow!
I guess I got more long snapper knowledge than you know.
I was a long snapper.
Yeah, I got more.
Formerly.
Yeah, that's why I got more knowledge than you know.
Name one long snapper that hasn't played for the Bucks.
Andrew Day something for the Vikings.
one thing I want
Yeah.
to say too. You don't always see that in the Bucks. You see it in other teams, when the Rams watched Xavier Smith drop the two punts that ended up selling them their playoff run. It shows that a lot of other teams are also doing that too. Like they see the problem in special teams, they only change that, and obviously the Rams are a way more successful team than the Bucks were last year. obviously spanking us when we were watching it at Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. But you see that in other teams too. It just makes you wonder, like they're doing similar stuff to us, but it really goes back to conditioning too. That's what matters. Like you saw that in the back half of the season for the Bucks. You
I
saw us go from already 6-2 to end the season 8-9. It's like
and lose the South to the Panthers.
I
yeah,
do want to say this. I think that Rams game, all three of us were actually watching this at Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. I think that was actually Tristan's favorite game of the season. He
yeah,
really wanted to stick around and watch the whole thing.
but also
For
goes
context, we were there. So we carpooled to that game. I drove to Jake's house, and from there, Jake picked up Aiden, and we went. And the geographic, like, it's not easy to it's a long walk back to either of their houses. Like, we have to drive, and so I wanted to leave by like the second or third quarter, like halftime, I think. And you guys
Right as we
were
knew Baker
not
wasn't
having it.
playing.
Yeah, like right as we knew that, like it was already like we were down 28 points. Like it wasn't just like, oh, like I don't really feel it. Like we weren't winning the game. Like it was already down the drain. And these guys were so adamant on staying till the clock struck 0 in the fourth quarter. I literally
Which
just
we did.
sat there, which we did, but we sat there watching a pointless game, literally just watching the Bucks get BTA for no reason, just because I don't even know.
But
Well, I will say this. The reason we stayed was, me and Aiden had some player picks, obviously not betting, but we had some player picks that we had to watch for, and we had to see if those were going to hit.
yeah, but because we're under the age of 18, it would have no implications
Well,
on
yeah,
anything, so it's really not
it's still fun, though.
important.
It's still
So,
fun, though.
and so,
But
it,
I do want to say one plus from that game is seeing how big this Jake Browning, like bringing Jake Browning is. Because
Yeah.
watching Teddy Bridgewater, it looked like we just grabbed the closest fan out of the stands and be like, "Hey, you, come down and play quarterback." See how you do. He was tripping everywhere.
I have
He had
that
great-
vivid memory of him just, getting
like,
close to the sack and just
yeah,
flailing the ball up in the air and getting
he's
picked
just
off.
are y'all
just like
familiar of the one Jameis Winston warm-up video of
Mm.
like him like doing the drop back? That's exactly what it looked like every time Teddy Bridgewater got the snap.
yeah.
He didn't know what he was doing.
He just seemed like so like out of place. He like tripping over the center. He was throwing a bunch of weird passes. He was just like, it's not a backup quarterback. That's like just having a celebrity.
With
It's like,
that being said,
The
Detroit
UFO
Lions brand new backup quarterback for the 2026 season, Teddy Bridgewater, former high school head coach and Buccaneers backup
I
quarterback.
think they just threw away however much money they gave. I don't know how much money they gave him,
probably veteran minimum. I would hope
Yeah.
so.
but whatever they just spent for Teddy Bridgewater, whatever they spent for Teddy Bridgewater, they literally that's just throwing away money. He's not going to be a backup that you get in there and he can go perform in a game. It's just not going to happen. He's going to go. You're just having him to have him there. You don't need him to mentor your quarterback. You have Jared Goff. Even how like
That's one of the teams that need to get Anthony Richardson in there.
yeah, it's like that's the last thing you needed to spend money on was Teddy Bridgewater. I feel like it was almost more for the fans at that point than it was for actually the team, which
I think it
even
was.
which I know understand the fans do like him around there and what he's done, but he hasn't really even done anything for the Lions. All of his work was for the Vikings.
Yeah, no.
They're
Teddy Bridgewater
holes.
has not been
He's
good.
he's
As
pissed off,
far
like,
as NFL free agent sleeper teams go, this is kind of, going away from the Teddy Bridgewater discussion because you can only talk about Teddy Bridgewater so much.
yeah.
No, we
Uh,
can talk about him all day.
But
Did you watch that
Arizona,
Rams
the
game?
Arizona Cardinals, yeah, I did. I did watch the
Yeah, we forced you
Tampa Bay
to.
Rays or Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Rams game. I did watch. The Arizona Cardinals signed running back Tyler Algier to a 2-year, $12.25 million deal. Wide receiver Kendrick Bourne signed a 2-year, $10 million deal with a maximum of $12 million.
And they actually just
Quarterback Gardner Minshew signed a 1-year deal worth $5.75 million.
53 minutes ago they just signed Devin Duvernay.
And Devin Duvernay. I think the Arizona
That's the needle
Cardinals
mover.
could be
Yeah.
dangerous in
Yeah,
2026.
Kendrick Bourne and Devin Duvernay. That's the wide receiver core you want.
Absolutely. I mean,
Hey, Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, they actually.
They'll be benched behind Devin Duvernay. and
Whoa.
Kendrick Bourne. Putting Kendrick Bourne out there, having that great game.
Hey, he
for
went to the Super
Niners.
Bowl.
Kendrick Bourne.
Why is everyone staring at me?
because it's Kendrick Bourne.
Oh,
Bourne did
I
not
thought you
go
said
to the
Kayshawn Booty. All right, my bad.
Okay.
Casual.
Well, so we don't like to say
Nice.
like we don't like to say negative things about other teams, other people, right? Like we only like to look at we like to be analytical.
As Mike Rickard would say, it's a
analytical.
positive perspective.
It's a positive perspective. We like to be analytical. We like to be objective. We don't like to be biased or anything. But genuinely, just on a curious level, who do we think, like, just as far as their roster and their coaching, is going to be the worst NFL team in 2026? I mean, worst as
the
in
Jets.
worst record, worst season, worst. Just like you would not want to be a fan of this team in 2026.
The Jets. And I think they had a good offseason. I think they actually made a lot of really good
They
pickups.
made a lot of great signings.
But it's the Jets, and they didn't get anybody great. They just got a bunch of average, and they're the Jets. So
think
their
that-
coaching sucks. Their organization sucks.
I think
Their
one,
owner sucked. So
I think one team that's like going to be a lot worse than people are thinking is the Dolphins. Like a lot of people are really high on Malik Willis, but they gave him quite a bit of money, and I don't think he played 2 good games last year. I don't think that's enough to prove he could play. I think I would almost
and he played it for a competent organization who can develop a quarterback.
yeah. It's
I
like,
genuinely think Malik Willis was one of the best moves that Miami could have made at quarterback.
for me it's just the
I just think it's too much money.
I think what they've done so far, definitely trading Minka and getting a 7th-round pick out of it, they've just given and they're not getting as much as they should be getting.
I think it's a risk. I think it's a bold move. I think it goes back to what we were just talking about, how GMs can't be right 100% of the time. Obviously, the Miami GM has
Isn't
been
right 50%
has
of the
been
time.
has been wrong a lot more than just a little right. But I think it's one of the best moves they could have made. I think it's a vote of confidence in Malik Willis. I think it's too much money considering that they're going to have a $99 million cap hit for Tua Tagovailoa going to the Atlanta Falcons and playing for a whole other team this year. But I think it's a vote of confidence in Malik Willis, and I think that if you want to sign a quarterback and you want him to perform for your team right now, I think Malik Willis coming off of a generally good season for the games that he did play is the right move. But also, that too, because Malik Willis is a great person. Malik Willis is a franchise leader. I know we've all seen the video from the combine when he gave that homeless woman his clothes that he was given by Noble in the combine itself. He's a great person. Obviously, you're not paying for a great person. You're paying for an athlete, someone you want to make plays happen on the field, and I think that he is capable of it. I think with Miami's high-speed offense, I think if they can get a head coach that is more competent than Mike McDaniels was, I think if they can get someone who has been in the position before, and have they signed a head coach? I'm completely
Yeah,
They have-
I believe his name is Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super
I don't-
out of the blue,
No,
the signing. I
Jeff
remember
Hardy's-
because I remember they did sign a quarterback.
No, Jeff Hardy's a wrestler, I
yeah,
think.
he's a WWE.
They did sign a head coach. I just hadn't heard much about him. It wasn't a blockbuster
I
signing.
think it's like Jeff Hafley or something.
Jeff Hafley. I was close.
Jeff Hafley.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff Hafley, head coach of the Miami Dolphins in 2026. I honestly haven't, as you are telling
Yeah,
right now,
Packers
haven't
DC.
seen Packers DC. Haven't seen much out of him. It really comes down to their offensive coordinating and what they can make for Malik Willis happen.
Because it'll be a new play caller.
I think it does come down to what Malik Willis is going to do with Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to be besides
No Tua,
Devon
or sorry,
Achane,
no Tyreek.
yeah,
Tyreek
he's being
won't
that
be
wide
there.
receiver 1. Tua obviously couldn't perform with Jalen Waddle at wide receiver 1, so it really makes you wonder what he's going to do with Jalen Waddle.
Well, the reason Tua couldn't, succeed with Jalen Waddle is because he's only good when Tyreek is on the field. He's only good when Jalen Waddle's on the field. Why are you laughing?
I just don't think.
And what are you? Is this a direct quote from Tua?
Yeah, it actually is. That's
Yeah, I know.
He said it himself. And if you wanna blame me for that, you can actually go ahead and blame Geno Smith. He gave me permission.
Okay,
That's actually the new Jets starting quarterback, Geno Smith.
first time
Yo.
ever, by the way.
Yo, the Jets are such a joke. I swear.
I think that was such a stupid signing. He really just
Like, there's no reason to do it.
I think it was.
Could you imagine being a Jets fan in 2011, going into a coma and waking up this like today?
You would
and-
think that Geno Smith was your franchise guy. Still
You would
seeing
think
him
you
as
would think
starting
Geno
quarterback.
Smith was the next Tom Brady.
Still, imagine being a Jets fan and seeing your quarterback play on your team for more than 2 seasons.
It's like that
Wow.
that whole QB draft class that year. It was with EJ Manuel and Geno Smith. Really, just was a very pitiful QB draft class.
It's like
I think.
2022.
Yeah,
Kenny Pickett. I mean, I mean, maybe Malik Willis is going to be good now. Who knows? But
and maybe Kenny Pickett might get some snaps in with the Carolina Panthers.
yeah, I think we can go ahead and write that off.
Yeah.
I think Kenny Pickett could be the next franchise guy for the
Nice,
Carolina
dude.
Panthers.
Nice,
Okay.
dude.
Hot take.
Yeah, it's gonna stay hot.
All right, dude.
It's becoming scorching.
Hey, can we
at
talk
this
about
point.
how like I don't
Rather
owe
not.
you guys $40 and how good that feels for me?
You owe me $280 actually.
But like I don't owe you 20 each. Like
Well, I think
because of
Well, I'd rather owe you 20 than owe you 280.
well, no. What I'm saying is like Dak Prescott was not the comeback player of the year this year, which
Well,
you guys
What?
were both
Okay,
confident.
wait. Question: Where did this come from? Like,
I was just
literally-
thinking about this just now because we're talking about quarterbacks that could play for the Jets.
Dak Prescott is not a quarterback that can play for the Jets. He's
He's not a quarterback
still
that could
good.
because he's not a quarterback that could play for any team.
Yeah,
No,
He's
a
not
quarter-
comeback player of the year.
He's a quarterback that can play for the Dallas Cowboys, and he showed that last year. He can play for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, like he can. It doesn't mean they're gonna win
It
though.
really
Like he
just-
can if they want to lose.
It shows that how bad that Cowboys defense actually is.
It was
That's really
horrible.
what it came down to.
The Cowboys' offense
The
was
Cowboys' defense is why Dak Prescott didn't win comeback player of the year. You are
No,
right. That's
he
a great point.
didn't win comeback player of the year because Christian McCaffrey
good.
just
It's
played
just better. Yeah, it's just better.
Christian McCaffrey was the top 3 running back last year, top 2, maybe even the best running back last year for some people. But I think just saying because he didn't win comeback player of the year is starting to overshine how good.
I
of a
think his
season he
odds
had
were like
last
plus
year.
12,000. By the way.
Well, odds really don't come down to as show how good he actually.
Well, no, but
played.
if you're saying he was the runner-up behind CMC, his odds were like plus 12,000. He wasn't even the top like 5. Like
Well,
I
I
think.
think that's still starting to overshow how good of a season he did actually have. He was top in passing yards. He had plenty touchdowns. He did cut down interceptions from previous years. He did play great, and I think the only team he played bad against, which a lot of teams have a lot of great quarterbacks, obviously a runner-up for MVP, Drake May also played bad against them. Yeah, it says
says Dak Prescott's odds there were plus 300.
Plus 300. Okay, yeah.
Which would-
After the fact, when the NFL honors already happened during the season, they were like 12,000. Like at the end of the season, they were like plus 12,000
but going back to what I was
because there were like 4 candidates in front of him.
going back to what I was saying though, the only game I can really see that I saw that he really played bad against was the Denver Broncos, and obviously your runner-up for MVP also did very bad against the Denver Broncos. Should have lost to them, but obviously he got bailed out by playing Jarrett Stidham in the playoffs. I think it's taking away too much to show that he just didn't have a good defense to run off of, and defense does show how good a quarterback can perform depending on how much really it's a mentality and a morality thing. If you're a quarterback and you're going into the game and say you have a drive that doesn't go your way, oh shoot, well I guess we got to punt. Every team punts. It happens. It's NFL. You're not going to score every single drive. You see that, you come out and instantly you're scored in like 20 seconds. You're out there. Oh shoot, got to put the gear back on. We're going back out there. It tires you out. It messes with your stamina, your morality. You have to come back out and be like, yes, we scored, but oh shoot, we're back on the field. They just scored again. It's like if the other team scores first, it's just a dog chase game. You're not gonna. It's like if we go down and score, they're gonna score back at us again. That's what you gotta see, how much that actually factors to a quarterback.
Can I say this when it comes to play?
Per Vegas Insider. I'm still on the Dak Prescott thing, by the way.
I'm going to that too.
Yeah, me too. Per Vegas Insider, Christian McCaffrey, then Trevor Lawrence,
Yep.
then Aaron Rodgers, then Joe Burrow, then Kirk Cousins, then Anthony Richardson, then Dak Prescott.
That's just not.
Anthony Richardson.
Anthony
That's just a
Richardson
joke then.
Just didn't.
Anthony Richardson
a
didn't play,
snap.
and Joe Burrow also didn't play.
And Aaron Rodgers had a significantly worse season than.
Well,
Dak
and Aaron Rodgers was listed as plus 100. So
Well, he just did not have a good.
You sure you're not missing 2 zeros on the end there?
Yeah.
nope, that's what it says.
Because
Well,
what
Vegas-
I'm
I
looking
think
at, it's got
Vegas-
Christian McCaffrey 1, Trevor Lawrence 2, Aiden Hutchinson 3, and Dak Prescott 4, which I believe is the correct order. I don't know what Trevor Lawrence was coming back from, but
Yeah, he's coming back from
A concussion.
seriously.
Yeah, a season-ending concussion from Aziz Al-Shaair,
what week did he get that in?
like week 5.
Oh,
Did he really miss the entire 2024
Yeah.
season?
Yes.
I thought he came.
He missed it was Mac Jones played for Jacksonville.
I know Mac Jones got playing time. I
He
don't
played
think
like the latter end of the season. Trevor Lawrence was out for the because I think he played the last like 3 games of the season, Trevor Lawrence, but he was still out for like 7 games or something like that.
7. I just
I
don't
mean,
think that's.
I don't think
separate
that's
games.
comeback
the-
player of the worthy
Yeah,
eligible ready.
I don't think.
I think
He played
if
half the season, and like Dak Prescott, I think he played 3 games, and then he got injured and he was out.
So if we're basing comeback player of the year based off
10 games.
how many games you missed, then performance.
No, I'm not.
No,
We're not doing it.
we're
We're not
just
doing it
saying
off that. I'm saying he shouldn't be eligible. He played 10
Yeah,
out of
it's only
17
as, like,
games
a
last year.
eligibility.
I don't think he should have been eligible for it. I don't
Yeah,
think he.
It's only like a
If he
we're
tore
not
his
s-
ACL in week 10, then I think he should be eligible for it.
yeah,
But
but
he had a really bad concussion. If you're going to be out for 7 weeks, let's
But
not get that as he had a
also-
minor injury. But
also for what you were saying too, for basing like how good the quarterback has played off an award, really, it doesn't show how good they've actually been. Like Baker didn't win comeback player of the year when he had a great year for the Buccaneers.
and
That doesn't-
everybody knows he deserved it more
that-
than Joe Flacco.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean he was a bad quarterback at all. Had a great season.
I'm just saying I put my money where my mouth is. I never said that Dak Prescott's like the worst quarterback in the NFL. I don't think that.
I know, but I'm just saying.
He
you're
just said he
making him-
wouldn't play for any team.
You're just
I
saying
didn't
he-
say for any team. I just said he wouldn't. I wouldn't want him. Like I meant I wouldn't start. I want him starting for the Bucks. Like I wouldn't want him starting for my
I
team.
would love him starting for the Bucks. He's a.
I wouldn't want him
just-
over Baker, but
I
if
wouldn't want him
Dak
over
Prescott
You
was
would
our
you would take
quarterback-
Dak Prescott as a starting quarterback over Baker Mayfield right now.
Then I just said I did. I wouldn't. I said I would take Baker over Dak Prescott. But if we had,
But then
Dak-
what'd you say before that? What were you saying before that? Because you
I said,
disagree with what I said when I said
I said I would like him as a starting quarterback. I would if the
Yeah,
Bucks
if-
didn't have Baker Mayfield and they had Dak Prescott.
I would be
wouldn't say-
perfectly happy.
I wouldn't sit here and be a pissed off fan being, we need a new quarterback now. I would be like, okay, let's build this offense around him. He's a good quarterback.
But
that
I will
can
say this: he
perform."
is still overpaid, and if you're paying really almost any quarterback other than the elite guys, Lamar, Burrow, we can go on about the next few guys, but if you're going to pay a quarterback 50, 60 million dollars, your offense and your team around him isn't going to be as good. So Dak Prescott is overpaid, but I mean, if at $30 million, if he was our starting quarterback, I'd still rather Baker Mayfield. Don't get me wrong. I'd still rather a number of guys, but I would be very content with Dak Prescott starting.
I don't know. Let's just say this: as someone who's a fan of a team in the NFC, I'm perfectly happy with Dak Prescott as the Cowboys starting quarterback. I'm perfectly fine with it.
I would like to say too, with the season he had, if Baker had a similar season to this would look like an okay season. He has 4,500 passing yards, which is great.
I think higher
30
than Baker's had.
touchdowns, 30 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
That's
is
good.
a fantastic year.
That's a great year.
That is a great quarterback. And if
That's not a quarterback's fault that the team lost.
yeah, it's you can't sit there and blame that on a quarterback if he's losing. He's scoring. He's out
Comeback
there.
player of the year is an individual award, not a team award, by the way.
I understand that, but I'm saying a team can have an effect on whether a player wins that or not.
In which Aiden Hutchinson deserved it over him because he's simply a better player. Aiden Hutchinson is simply a unstoppable force on defense, and same with Christian McCaffrey, unstoppable force on offense. But I think Dak Prescott is easily the 3.
I don't know. I disagree, but we've been on this topic for way too long.
Hold on,
There's
one
so
last
much
thing,
more
though,
to
one
talk
last thing.
about.
I just
We
wanna say
literally
one last thing.
this is a stale discussion that we've had going on since the start of last season. Like it's time that it ends.
Well,
Like
He
one-
wants to get a
one
final
last-
comment out
one
there,
last
so
thing.
let's let
Would
him
you
get it.
rather have Baker from last year or Dak Prescott from last year?
Dak,
from last year.
From playing off last year.
I mean,
just based on the season they had.
define cherry picking.
Oh my
Not
god,
cherry
dude.
picking. I'm saying
That's
from
cherry
last year.
picking.
I'm just saying
17
last-
A
full
career, looking at
games.
a career.
They both played the same amount of games. I'm just saying. Both played the same amount of games. Who would you rather take from last year?
From last
Because
year.
you're making it seem like he had a bad season and you never
Okay, if you want to talk about stuff a team can impact, look at their offensive line. Look at their wide receiver targets. Look at the consistency both of them had throughout the year.
mean, Baker had decent receivers too. He had Godwin for almost
He was without his
40
wide
years.
receiver one for majority of the year.
He had
He had no one running back one for most of the year.
I mean,
How hot were their running backs in Dallas? They were doing pretty well this last season
because of their offensive line.
because of their great offensive line that
A great
Baker had no
rushing
consistency at.
offensive line. They
That
had-
Baker had no consistency at. I would have rather. Okay. If you're just looking at the team, like yes, the Cowboys had a better season. The Bucks had a bad season. You're right about that. But if that's the point you're trying to make, like that's not like a valid like. realistically, like, yes, the Cowboys were better than the Bucks last season.
That's not what we're trying to say. We're saying
That's
last,
what you're
we're saying
saying. That's
last
what you're saying.
season.
That's what you're saying. Which
We're
team was
saying
better
last-
last season?
No, I'm saying
Because
which
you can't have it.
quarterback was
No, I'm
better
just saying,
last
like, this
season.
is why I wanted this conversation to end, because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it where a team impacts his an ability to be a comeback player of the year, but then it doesn't impact his performance as a quarterback himself. That doesn't make any
I'm
sense.
just saying you said Dak Prescott isn't a good quarterback because he didn't win comeback player of the year. That was what you were trying to get at. You said you wouldn't like him starting on any team because he didn't win comeback player of the year.
I'm saying that's circular reasoning. I'm saying that he didn't win comeback player of the year because he's not the best quarterback for that role. He wasn't. Trevor Lawrence was better quarterback for comeback player of the year and just in general. Like, what I'm saying is
But you
that's
just
circular reason. He's not a bad quarterback because he didn't win CPOY.
that's what you were just saying.
All right,
No,
I
what
say
I'm-
we just
no,
move on from
no,
right
no, no,
now.
no, what I'm saying
I
is-
say we
no,
just
no,
cut
what
it
I'm
off
saying
because you
is-
guys are going to go
what I'm
on
saying
for all
is
day.
what I'm saying
All
is he is not CPOY because he is a bad quarterback. Does that make sense? You're getting it the other way around, which is just wrong. Like, that's incorrect.
I say we
but
all
yeah.
start ranking the Buccaneers free agents, starting off with Cade Otton. How do we feel about the Buccaneers? Grade it,
A
grade it
Three.
from
D-
an
Oh,
A to F,
A to F.
D
or A
minus.
plus to F minus.
A D
I'm gonna say a
minus.
C minus.
I want to say a D.
I'm going to
Actually,
say a
I
D
shouldn't say
plus.
D.
I think
I
we're
shouldn't
all
say
around
D.
that same range. I think just you can
I
get.
just
I think I'd rather Devin Culp and
his stats look good because he has one good game a year.
yeah, he
You
had like
have-
120
did-
yards in that game against the
Yeah,
Panthers.
he had 97 yards off 8 catches and what was it? A touchdown, 2 touchdowns.
His only touchdown of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only touchdown of the year. You look at he's like if someone just looks based off stats, they're like 400 yards and a touchdown. That's obviously not great, but that's not bad. You can take that out of a tight end. But you really look at it, he had
He's
so
the
many
seventh
games.
option on the offense too. There's no
Yeah.
reason to be paying a seventh or sixth actually now. He's the sixth option on the offense. There's no reason to be paying the guy $10 million a year with 20 of it guaranteed because you can find sixth level option in an offense for so much cheaper. And do I think K. Dotton, it was a bad deal for the money? No, I think that's about fair. I think that's what he should have gotten, but I just don't think we should be in the position of giving him that.
Yeah, I think it was personally. I think they were overpaying for Cade Otton. I think that I'm a personal believer in Devin Culp. I think Devin Culp is the future of the tight end room for the Buccaneers. I think that his raw playmaking ability puts him above uh, the current tight ends that we have starting. And I think that he's a great physical catcher. I think that if you look at most teams that have won the Super Bowl in the last 10 years, most of them have a strong connection between the starting quarterback and the starting tight end. You need a strong connection between the tight end and the quarterback because, when a team's secondary is great, a team that gets to the Super Bowl is going to have a solid secondary. You can't get to the Super Bowl unless you have a solid secondary. The tight end is the caveat to that secondary. The tight end's the option that they leave unchecked, the unexposed option, the guy that you can flip the ball out to in a short yarded situation and confidently get a couple of yards if you need it. And that's just not what we've seen at a Kadon. I
And I
feel like
think-
like you can, like, it's happened before, but when you need consistency out of a tight end, I think Devin Culp, you might want to start nurturing Devin Culp into a guy that you want in that position. You want good chemistry between Baker Mayfield and Devin Culp rather than re-signing a guy like Kadon who like has been on the team for a while, like has general good chemistry with the team. Like he's our NFL PA rep. Other than that, like I don't really
Phenomenal value for the pick though. 4th round pick for K. Dotton. 2,000 yards in 4 years. It's about as good as you can get from a 4th round pick. Obviously, it's not about as good as you can get. I mean, it's phenomenal value. I just don't think the Bucks were in a position to spend that much money on a position like tight end.
I did want to say too, that's what you were saying, Tristan. That's what separates like good tight ends from the superstar tight ends. Is your good tight ends, you can get them out in short coverage. They can be that last option that you need to get first downs. But when you look at the superstar tight ends, they're their next wide receiver, and they can do good in the blocking game, which is what you see out of George Kittle too. He will do you good in the blocking game. He'll have great blocking tight end abilities, and then you'll go out and you see him 30 yards down the field, 30-yard catch, tearing up, juking, trucking. He's got everything, and that's what separates good tight ends from the superstars.
Absolutely, and Devin Culp even has like some of the size that you need out of a tight end. Like he's a big dude, and
He's big, wide. He's pretty short. I'm pretty sure.
I think he's like 6'4".
Is he
sure.
really?
I think
I
I
think
think he's like
6'3".
6'2".
I think
6'3"
he's
or
like
6'4".
6'2" or 6'1". I think that's
Yeah.
what I last saw. He's like
Well,
pretty small for a tight end.
But
Devin Cope's 6'3".
6'3",
So he's
which is
kind of
still
that's
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 still a
shorter
smaller
for
side. Yeah,
a tight end, but it's a good size. He has
because
well, there's kind of mixed because it
obviously
says
that size doesn't factor into too much. Because one of the best tight ends in the league right now, Brock Bowers, he's not a big guy either. He's almost like lining a tight end up as like riding a wide receiver up as a tight end.
that was an untrusted source per the Tampa Bay Buccaneers like NFL website, the NFL controls. Devin Cope is exactly 1.93 meters, 6.6
just get to the height and weight.
6 feet 4 inches. So he's 6'4" and
That's
237 pounds.
which that's still, if you're seeing other tight ends besides Brock Bowers, obviously that's still kind of small for a tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It's
It's not small.
generally
It's on
speaking,
the smaller side though.
tight ends are huge just because you need them as outside blockers, like external
Yeah.
blockers and whatnot. But that's never what we really used Kate Otten for. We never used him as a blocker. That's why we re-signed Keith.
It would be great to have him as a blocker though, because having him and Keith, two great blockers, just imagine the season that Bucky could have, season that Kenneth Gainwell could have for us, season like all of them could have. It would open up the run game a lot.
Well, see, the thing is, I'm curious about is because Zach Robinson's much more quarterback oriented, being a former quarterback himself. So, he's going to be Baker's, right hand man, obviously, as an offensive coordinator usually is. But I am curious to see how we elevate our run game this year because I think that was one of the biggest things we need to hit on, especially last year. Is even the year before, it seemed like we had finally found our saving grace in Bucky Irving. It seemed like the run game was finally saved.
And then
and
Josh Grizzard stepped in.
Yeah, then Josh Grizzard stepped in and Cardberry, continued his BS on the run game. Just the mess that it was, and you mix in injuries with the offensive line and inconsistencies just all around with the team, and that running game looked like, I mean, it was a husk of what it was the year prior, and you just need some type of confidence coming back into this year to re-solidify your running game. You get Kenneth Gainwell, you get Zach Robinson, but like I said, Zach Robinson's more of a quarterback guy. I want to see the moves that they make to kind of revitalize this running game and get it back on track.
But
I agree.
Before we come to an end, though, because it is getting towards that time, I do want to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning a little bit too.
Absolutely.
How they came out of that little
Man.
break of Team USA and everything. It's been pretty sad.
It's been absolutely abysmal, Aiden. I have to completely agree. The Tampa Bay Lightning went from the absolute, just undisputed best team in the National Hockey League, coming off of that, do you remember what it felt like during the NHL Stadium Series in Tampa when they beat
Mhm.
the Bruins? I think
Yeah.
that was I was thinking about this the other day. That's the peak for Lightning
Yeah.
fans in Tampa.
But-
It was pure bliss. I mean, you play at Raymond James. They win the only NHL Stadium Series they've ever played in an NFL stadium. It was at Ray J. It was great. It was 30 degrees there. It was 35 degrees. It was awesome. But then coming back from the USA winning the hockey and at the Olympics, winning gold, Jake Gensel, he looks all right, but
what I wanted to see too, watching last night, we looked so lazy. Defense.
the Hurricanes were a team we beat earlier in the year as well.
Yeah, which they did beat us once too, obviously earlier in the year. I'm pretty sure, because I think they won the series, but I think we just looked lazy. Like they were making their way to the goal. Like it was like right up the middle. We had four people in great formation to stop him, and he'd just go right up the middle. It didn't look like we cared enough. It looks like we thought we were the best. We thought this team's not as good as us. Let's just go out there and play down to their level. We go, and then they're obviously the Canes are a very aggressive team. They will play
Absolutely.
super aggressive, and we're just playing like it's like we're the best team. We have one of the top scorers in Nikita Kucherov. We have all these great players. Let's just lay back for a little bit, and we'll get this win somehow.
It
And-
felt good to get that 4-1 win against the Red Wings the other night on Thursday, but then even before that, the Columbus Blue Jackets beating us 5-2. I mean, the Blue Jackets are not a great team.
Yeah, no.
That was embarrassing. That loss, that was hard to stomach. And I feel like that's the kind of sentiment that a lot of Lightning fans have had recently. It's not the same brand of hockey that was being played before the break. And I don't know. It's uninspiring.
Back to what I was saying too about them like just laying down saying, "Hey, we got this," is the game against the Sabres. The game where they were against the Sabres up 7-5, in
That was
period
awful. It
3.
was a
And
great game to watch, but awful outcome for the
yeah,
Lightning.
it's like you sit there, we're up 7-5, and it's the third period. This is over. Let's lay back. Let's play softer. We're late in the game. We're tired. Let's just play a little softer. I don't think we don't need to try as hard. So let's just chill out.
Yeah. I
And
mean, you
then
got to relax a little bit to,
yeah,
you
and then
to spread the. I mean, sub other guys get it. Sub other guys get it in, get them their minutes. But I mean, you still got to play physical. You still got to play
yeah,
like you want to win.
and then Dalen comes out, scores a goal. Zucker comes out and scores a goal, and then with 3 minutes left, Doan comes out and scores a goal, and then you're down 8-7 now. You look at the scoreboard. Oh shoot, we got to start trying now. But now there's 4 minutes. There's 4 minutes left. You're given a lot less time. If you were trying the whole rest of that third period with how much time was left, and then this game would not be as bad. But then you look at pretty sure I'm pretty sure it's Jonas Johansson.
Yeah, Johansson.
Johansson, and you look at that, it's like every game that I look at him and he's starting, we're losing. We're putting up offense, but we're losing and letting up 8 goals.
Hmm.
It's like I think that really shows how good Andrea Vasilevsky is for this team, and like how much we need like another like backup goalie to really, so we can have those games where he's not in, and we can be like, yeah, I'm still confident we can win this game because our offense is that good.
Yeah, I mean, you can't replace Big Cat, especially if you want to be able to pay Big Cat the money that he deserves to stay with the Lightning going down the line. Obviously, because NHL contracts compared to the rest of professional sports, they're absolutely I don't know, highway robbery. But you know, when you want to manage your money efficiently, you got to have a guy like Jonas Johansson that can fill the role. But you got to kind of elevate the rest of your game to play around a guy like Johansson when you have him back in the net. You really just want a guy that, like you said, you can plug and play, and you isn't isn't an absolute like offense fest. We have to go out there and we have to put the puck in the back of their net. Every opportunity we get, we have to capitalize on our shots on goal. Otherwise, we're just playing catch up the whole game. I think it's really important to have a guy like that behind Andre Vasilevsky,
And
but it's going to be hard if you, like I said, you want to keep a guy like Andre Vasilevsky,
mhm.
Big Cat, in the building.
But I feel like after the Olympic thing, it really just showed like almost every game we've just been laying back. We do something and we lay back and let them do it again. Like we started off 2-0 because we played the game lazy with defense, and it's okay, let's go out and score. We scored 2 goals in the second period, and then we're like, okay, we just tied it up. Let's lay back a little. We have some leniency. It's a tie game. We're back. Okay. And then you play lazy. You let up 2 more goals. Obviously, the open netter late. It's just whatever. But then, because with the lazy, lax defense they're playing, that makes it look good. That makes it look so much worse for Vasilevsky because they're driving right to the net. He's making one save and then it's ricocheting off. He doesn't catch it, and then they're going back taking another shot. It's like, and even only on Gorday's goal last night, it was on a small little breakaway. He didn't. It's not like we were passing it around, making it through. It was a small little goal. I mean, Diostas's goal was pretty nice too. 'Cause that's where I actually saw a glimpse of the past Lightning NHL games gameplay, but and then I looked and seeing this is really starting to remind me of the Rays from last year.
Absolutely. Well, you know, this has been an extended episode of Between the Lines, 2 hours long today because we were cut short last week. Had some technical difficulties starting this one out early, but we got it figured out and we brought you an episode live from Ferg Sports Bar and Grill, USA Today's #1 rated sports bar in all of the USA, from our Body Armor Coca-Cola studios. Of course, Between the Lines is a Tampa State Beat Sports Connection production, and we appreciate you tuning in and watching. We hope you have an amazing day, an amazing week, and we will catch you next Sunday for the next episode. Have a good one.
Go Bucks. Go Rays.